Hello, everyone. This is Wes Fryer in Charlotte, North Carolina. Today is Friday, December 27th, 2024, and I would like to explain why I have set up a Patreon called Dangerous Ideas with Wes Fryer and why you might want to consider subscribing and what it is. I am a middle school teacher here in North Carolina, and I care and am passionate about a number of things. And I'm putting the subtitle for this as Human Rights, Representative Democracy, and Religious Tolerance. And it seems crazy to me to think that these ideas are dangerous, but unfortunately, and I hope that I am wrong, we appear to be entering into a very difficult and challenging time in not only United States history, but global history. And the reason I say it is dangerous is because we've seen a number of people targeted not only in social media, but in real life for standing up for different ideals and ideas. And we appear to be entering a time that it's going to be increasingly risky to speak out about issues. I want to speak out about issues, but I recognize that context matters and social media platforms do not provide privacy. And I am certainly not wanting to say anything and do not plan on saying anything on this channel and Patreon or anywhere else that I'm not proud of and that I don't stand by. But I don't care to unnecessarily make myself a target for individuals and organizations that would want to target people who speak out about things and ideas that they oppose. So, what is this project for? Let me first mention that I have started and am a part of a number of different projects about stuff that I really care about. This isn't the only place that I'm sharing this. And you can connect openly to a wide variety of websites that I create and curate and moderate on my website, wesfryer.com. And if you go to wesfryer.com/after, which is like my after page after you found me, you'll be able to link to a lot of these. In fact, I try to make that page comprehensive. One of the important pages that I plan to be growing in 2025 and beyond, I call Heal Our Culture. In fact, I set up a domain, healourculture.org, and a website where I am posting a variety of different podcasts and articles and links which personify the idea of being a cultural healer and not a culture warrior. And I'm going to continue to post those things there. I've also, since 2019, been facilitating and curating what I call a media literacy inquiry project called Conspiracies and Culture Wars. And this is a project you can find at medialiteracy.wesfryer.com/concw. I use that hashtag concw as a way to organize articles and thoughts and a lot of times just resources that relate to trying to better understand how the social media and information landscape has been weaponized in many cases by individuals that would like to conduct and are conducting a culture war. And I have created a private Facebook group that I have been utilizing for several years now because, again, I do want to share these things, but I also recognize that some of these ideas truly are dangerous. And let me just mention, and I don't want to carry on this too long, what some of those key ideas are. The first one is human rights. Ever since I was in probably high school, but certainly university, I was at the U.S. Air Force Academy. I graduated in 1992. I went on to study in Mexico City on a Fulbright scholarship. I did quite a bit of study about politics and political science. That was one of my majors. I have been a very ardent supporter of human rights. And I believe that human rights are universal for every single human being who is on the planet. Human rights should not be accorded depending upon your ethnicity, your national origin, how you choose to identify, what kind of citizenship you maintain. Human rights are universal. And unfortunately, we have a number of people today who do not believe that people should be ascribed those equal human rights. And I think that it is a dangerous idea to advocate this, but it is incredibly important. Now, I also believe that there is a theological or a religious basis for this. I don't think that you have to be a Christian or a person of faith necessarily of any type in order to understand the importance and support the importance of human rights. But that's number one. Number two is representative democracy. Unfortunately, authoritarianism and even fascism is on the rise in the world, and we see a number of signs of this. And one of the excellent books that I read in the past year that really continues to shape my thinking is by a historian named Heather Cox Richardson. She wrote a book a year or two ago, I don't know the publication date, but it's called How the South Won the Civil War. Part of the reason why I share media and participate in a dialogue with a lot of folks and hopefully with you regarding current events and news and things that we see happening in the world is because I want to understand it. And I want to understand the world better so that hopefully I can be a constructive and positive change agent and person who is acting as a citizen, not only exercising the rights of citizenship, but the responsibility of citizenship, which I believe involves being active and involved in the politics of my community, my state, my nation, and my world. And so representative democracy is a relatively new thing in the history of the world. Even here in the United States, we are not even 300 years old. And so representative democracy has been a very fragile thing. It is something that needs to be cared for and taken care of before. There's that famous Benjamin Franklin quotation when he was leaving the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787 when they drafted the U.S. Constitution, which was eventually ratified by the states and became the governing document of our nation, the United States. They said, "What have you done and what have you given us?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." We elect representatives to try and create rules and laws and govern our country so that we have a rules-based society and that the ideals embodied within our Constitution, which we still struggle to try to fully actualize and realize so that those are put into place. And so that's number two. And the third thing that unfortunately I think is a dangerous idea today is religious tolerance. And I say dangerous because it's very troubling to me that Christian nationalism has been on the rise in the United States, and that there are a number of individuals as well as organizations who espouse religious intolerance and want to basically do away with the separation of church and state, which has been a cornerstone of United States governance and political culture since the founding of our nation. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. It was in the 1950s, as part of McCarthyism and the backlash against communism, that the idea of one nation under God was put into our pledge. And a lot of people do have some misconceptions about the United States being founded as a quote unquote Christian nation. And while many of the humans, the men who did sign our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, were some of them were Christians and some of them followed Jesus Christ, but many of them were theists and believed in a supreme being. But making Christianity an essential part of our political culture was not something which they supported. In fact, we had hundreds and hundreds of years of warfare in Europe between Catholics and Protestants and between different kinds of ethnic groups. And religious strife has been an incredibly difficult and terrible rationale for violence in the past. And so those three things, a support for human rights, a support for representative democracy, and a support for religious tolerance, really form the cornerstone of the ideas and thoughts that I want to share here on this Dangerous Ideas Patreon. What I'd like to be able to do is just be a bit more unleashed, to share ideas and responses, as well as things that we see happening around us in the media, in the news, and the kinds of steps that we can take, because I do not believe we are impotent as citizens. I believe that the actions that we take as individuals, but especially collectively, really can and do make a difference. And so those are some thoughts about what I want to do. So if you'd like to join me, I invite you to become a subscriber. I will share a few things here on this Patreon that will be open and available to everybody, but the real purpose here is providing a place where individuals who are caring and who really place a lot of value on these kinds of values that I share, where we can have some open dialogue and share some ideas and information and links and be able to do that openly and hopefully do that in a way that avoids the kinds of targeting and persecution that unfortunately we've seen recently, and I'm concerned we may see increasingly in the months and years ahead. Take care.